Hey there, this is your girl Shawanda, and you're listening to Refreshing the Soul podcast, a show where we bring our experiences and God's truth to refresh the heavy and hard places in your soul. From anxiety to unforgiveness, we'll learn how to come to an honest place in our souls and uproot those hidden lies so that you can discover the unique expression God created you to be in this world. Hey everyone, welcome back to Refreshing the Soul podcast. This is your host, Shawanda Williams. I am so excited, always just honored to be able to speak into your souls again. I don't take it for granted. I know that you didn't click on this podcast by accident, whether it was the subject that you saw that pulled you or whether it's you just listen to this podcast every week. I believe God has a word for you. God has a word for me, and he tells me to share it with you. So I know it's a word for you. And we're all in this journey together. You know, no one has just made it to this place where they're no longer growing. They're no longer just needing God. We need God every day. No matter how much we have grown or developed, we still need God. I was just listening to a song by CeCe Winans called Hunger. And she was saying, I'm desperate for you, God. I need you, God. Immerse me, God. And that's my heart today. That's my heart's cry every day. I really try to be intentional to come before God in a place of, I need him. I need him. I don't want to ever get to a place where, okay, you've taken me through the wounded place. You've taken me through inadequate, anxiety, all these different things, you know, we've been talking about, and feel like I don't need God in those areas anymore, or I don't need him at all. And that is far from the truth. I believe as we continue to grow in God, your awareness of how much you need him should grow as well. So if you clicked on this podcast, one of the things that I hope you discover, and I pray that you understand, is through this message of rest, that it can only be found in him. It can only be found in our daily pursuit of him. Paul says he dies daily, and rest is dying, is letting those things that's on the inside of you be laid to rest, those anxieties, those fears. And we don't have to wait until we get to the grave to rest in peace. We can rest in his peace right now. So as you're listening, if you came on and you are feeling confused right now, if you're feeling unsure, if you're feeling a transition coming and you feel like you're in an unknown place and there's fear there, I want to speak to your soul today. I want to speak to your heart, because I'm kind of there too. God is transitioning me into another season. I don't know. I can feel it coming. And, you know, I think sometimes we can have a fear of the unknown, a fear of what's next, what's going to happen. Who am I going to be in this season? What is this season going to look like? What is it going to come with? And, you know, this month we've been talking about refreshing the fearful soul, refreshing those places in us that has fear. And you may have fear in this area and someone may have fear in the other area. So whether one of these episodes have hit your soul, I pray that you've gotten something. The first week we talked about overcoming the fear of rejection. The second week in July, we talked about overcoming the fear of trusting. And last week we talked about overcoming the fear of people. And this week I was like, Lord, what am I talking about? Like, I don't know, you know, what you want me to talk about. I know that usually where I'm at, God wants to use me in that area and speak about it. And I was like, this one, I'm unsure of, God. Like I really been meditating on your word for these other areas in my life for the past few weeks. But I just like, God, where am I? What's going on in my soul? Is there something going on that I don't know about or that I'm not seeing? And I want to tell you, it's okay to ask God that question. It's okay to say, God, examine my heart. just as David did. That keeps us in a place of where we need him. That keeps us in a place where we are desperate for him, where we realize that he is our everything and we want to please him and we want to be pleasing to him. I want to have a sweet aroma to him. And I asked him that, and I kept feeling like, man, feel like some things are going to start changing in my life. And I'm not sure I know what's on the other side, and I'm a type of person where I like to know the details. I like to know when, I like to know all these things. And God has only given me like partial instructions, right? But he has dealt with me in the area of, being controlling. I actually talked about it on a podcast. I think it was the month of March, is refreshing the controlling soul. So that's an area where you need some dealing with and you need God to refresh your soul. Go back to the month of March, and there's like 4 episodes on that. But I realized that even though I know that God has everything in control and I'm safe with what he has planned for me, and the unknown, I believe it is good. I believe it's a great future that God has for me, but it's just not knowing, what it feels like, what it looks like, what I would encounter, and just how, and being in a season or being in a place for so long, sometimes going to another season can seem a little scary, can seem a little different. And sometimes our familiarity with the season that we're in can cause us to fear moving forward, fear being in a new season, being in a new place, a new home, a new church, a new relationship, a new job. It could be a new season of where you're about to have kids, or you're planning for kids, or, it's whatever that unknown new season looks like. I think the unknown part of it is just not ever experiencing that level of you before. It's like a new experience of you being in that season. So if you've never been a mother and you're about to have your first child, it can feel, a little scary. Am I up to par for this? Those thoughts may come because, you're so used to, maybe it's your first child and you're so used to being by yourself and it being about you. Maybe you're married, being about your husband, and now you're about to enter a season where now you're going to have a little one around. And it's like, this is new. I've never been a mother before. I've never been a parent before. Whatever it is that you feel like you're about to embark on, God, He knows your soul. He knows your heart. He knows the fears that's in there. And He truly wants you to, it's not even about just not being afraid. He just doesn't want your fear to keep you from trusting Him, right? Because sometimes we may feel scared. And then we can just decide to pull all the stops, like, I'm not ready, right? Now, if you're pregnant and you're about to have a kid, you can't do that, right? It's too late. The decision's done. You're going to be a parent. But I mean, for anybody else, I mean, you're following God and you're listening to Him, and you don't have all the answers. You don't have the instructions. God could be telling you, hey, it's time for you to move to another state, another city. And you feel it pressing on your heart, but you never lived there before. You never been there before. And again, maybe it's not a new territory, but it's a new territory for you, of you being you. Maybe there's a season or whatever God's pulling you into. You're not necessarily moving location wise, a physical location, but it's a spiritual location that's going to be different for you. God is probably calling you up to be in a leadership position. Whatever the unknown is, I just want to encourage your heart that God is with you. He will not leave you. He will not forsake you. He cares about every part of your heart, every crevice that has fear in it. He does not want you to fear. If He's telling you to move, if He's telling you to go, if He's telling you this is the position, if He's telling you this is a relationship, there is a trust that has to upgird us and strengthen us and hold us up more than the fear that tries to keep us back or keep us in a comfortable place. And yeah, one of the words that came to mind was rest. And one of the definitions of rest means to grow dumb, to grow dumb. And I was just thinking about how, when Jesus said to the disciples, go to the other side of the lake, right? And so they get in the boat, they're on their way to the other side of the lake, but they didn't know they were going to encounter a storm. They didn't know the exact time they would be on the other side of the lake. They didn't have all the details. But just like us, we have to rest in what God said. We can combat fear. We can overcome fear when we choose to believe and trust. What did God say? What is his word? I don't have to know all the details. I just need to know what he is saying right now. And let me tell you, I'm preaching to myself. I'm ministering to myself right now. God has given me partial details, but I choose to trust him in what he's given me. Don't allow the pressures of people. Don't allow the pressures of society, culture, what people think you should be doing right now, what the standard is, how you should do this. What is God saying? What is God saying for you? What is he telling you to do? And trust that along the way, as we are obedient to him, even if storms arise, we can have a peace in knowing that we are doing what he says and his word does not fail. So some type of way, I'm going to be able to get to the other side of the lake. So I don't know what God is calling you to do. I don't know where God is calling you to be. It doesn't mean that storms won't arise. So even if you're fearing what you may encounter, I want to tell you, you do not have to fear what you're going to encounter, because whatever you're going to encounter, Jesus has already gone before you. He's already dealt with it. He's already made you victorious over the storm because his word told you to go. His word told you this is the time. And one of the scriptures I wanted to read is John 16:33. John 16:33 says, "These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Wow. Just right now, that be of good cheer. Man, sometimes we can be despondent in our soul. We can be sad because of the fear that's weighing down in our soul. Nothing that anyone is doing, nothing that anyone knows, but we know in our soul, we feel heavy, and it can cause us to just not be joyful. Fear suppresses our joy. When we want to have peace in knowing all the details, when we want to have peace in knowing how, when, what, who, when, and where, then when God chooses not to give us those things, we can become confused, we can become fearful, and we will lose the cheer in our souls that we are obviously called to have, that we can have. According to John 16:33, he's like, listen, I've given you peace. The peace that you seek for is in me. In me. That's in my word. That's in who you know about me. And if you're saying, hey, you know what? I guess I need to know more about Jesus. I need to trust him more because I don't know enough to trust him. And that could be also why we don't have that peace, because we haven't allowed ourselves to trust God past a point that we're comfortable with. God may have been pulling at you for years to write this book, to go back to school, but because of your fear, you haven't allowed yourself to experience what God has told you to do, to see who God is calling you to be. And we start right there. And I just want to encourage you, whatever he is telling you to do, wherever he is telling you to go, stop delaying it. Try him. Try him. Some things God may tell us to do that doesn't make any sense. And we have to come to a place in our relationship with him where, okay, this is a little different, God, but I'm going to trust you. I'm going to try you because I really believe this is what you're saying. I'm going to try you and I'm going to do it. And I believe every time we make a decision in our hearts to trust God and not delay ourselves because of fear, to have the courage to still step out and do it, I believe your trust will increase. I believe that peace will guard your heart, right? I believe you'll get to know him even more, and you will be even more cheerful. You will have more joy, because now that's your strength. The joy of the Lord is your strength. You no longer have to depend on having everything work out, line up right. No, there's something that I found in God through trusting him, through trying him. And that causes me, I have to listen, right? Last episode, we talked about, okay, how do we get out of this fearful place? Well, I need to hear what God is saying. I need to hear his voice. I need to hear his word. And if we are not spending time in God's word, how are we hearing him? How is God speaking to you? Yes, God can speak to us many ways. I've had God speak to me through my kid, but I'm still in my word. God speaks to me through the word, reading the word, and the way I'm coming to the word in a posture of a heart that I need him, I'm desperate for him. It makes me more aware of God. It makes me more sensitive to him. So when someone does talk to me, or when my kid does come to me, or when I hear that song playing, or when I see this word over and over again, I know it's God. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world, you will have tribulation. Jesus doesn't promise us a life without any trials or tribulation. I think we have to, and I'll say, I'm saying we, because I'm including me, like change our perspective. Instead of when we feel fear of the unknown or what's about to come, I believe we have to change our perspective and speak and confess, you know what, no matter what is to come, even if there is a trial that I don't know, or a tribulation that I have to face, or a storm that I have to pass through, I will pass through it. I will make it to the other side. Why? Because it says Jesus has overcome the world. It says, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. I have overcome the tribulations that you will face in this world. He has overcome the fear that we face in this world. We've been talking about overcoming the fear of rejection, overcoming the fear of trusting, overcoming the fear of people. Jesus has already overcome this for us. He's already overcome all these different things that we have to face in this world. So if I rely on him, if I hear his voice, if I do what he says and trust him, even if it doesn't make sense, even if I only have one part of this puzzle together, I can rest. I can grow dumb in what he's saying, meaning I don't have to, the only thing I know is what he said. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I got it, or no, I'm okay that I only know this. I'm okay that I don't know where exactly or when or how. No, I'm going to grow dumb in this. I don't know nothing, and that is okay. We can rest in him. We can rest in that and have peace, because whatever there is to come, he has already overcame it. Do you believe that? Do you believe that in your soul? That whatever is up the road, whatever you're unsure about right now, whatever you don't know, do you believe that Jesus has already overcome it for you? That really all you have to do is follow him and trust him? Yeah, there may be some things you're going to have to experience that will bring tears to your face, but he will carry you through it. I'm a witness of it. The more that I allow God to carry me through storms, the less fearful I am of following him and going through another one. I think that's a word for someone today. You've been trying to protect your own self from stepping out because you fear of what it may bring to your life. You fear of what you don't see, what you don't know will happen. And God is saying, well, I want you to experience me in a new place. And that new place is an unknown place. Because once you know me in that place, it doesn't matter what I bring in front of you. It doesn't matter where I may take you. It doesn't matter what I may tell you to do, because you know me and you trust me, not the conditions of your environment. That's why Jesus says that in me you may have peace. He said, in the world you will have tribulation. And I believe he's also saying that if we rely in the world for peace, we're going to experience way more heartache. We're going to experience way more tribulation. There's some things that life is just going to happen to us, and we're not going to have any control over that. But if we choose to find peace, to grow dumb in God, to rest in him, to trust him, and not this world. And when we say not the things that culture says that you should have. God may be telling someone right now, take all your savings and give it to someone. Now, this world say you should save, you should pay off debt, you should invest, all this stuff, right? Because you're going to retire, blah, 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 blah. And you could be fearing right now, trusting God. God, you told me to give this money away. That's half my savings. That's majority. God is saying, I am trying to take you to a new place. I am trying to get you to a new place in me. And it requires your trust. It requires you taking that step and knowing that you can have peace and still live joyfully and good cheer, no matter what you have in your bank account. God is not a God that wants you to be poor. Okay, but he's a God that wants you to trust him. And if you're fearing a place of poverty, if you're fearing a place of whatever that is, you got to check that, because there's a place of, am I trusting my money more than I'm trusting God? Am I fearing something over here that's keeping me from holding me back from God? Is it because I'm making that thing, that person, that knowledge, whatever that security I have rested in, am I making that my source? Or am I making God my source, the source of my life, the source of my strength, the source of my peace, the source of my money, the source of my wisdom, my way of life? Am I making God the source? All right, everyone, that wraps up this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast so we can get refreshing to those souls who need it. Also, don't forget to head over to Amazon, where you can purchase that 30-day devotional Rest for the Soul by yours truly. You want to get it in your hand. And just remember, soul care is self-care. Until next time, bye-bye.